Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into the Geek Garage podcast. I am David Dassall, your host. You can check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/The Geek Garage Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Geek Garage Pod. You can check us out on Instagram. And also you can rewatch our live stream at youtube.com/2playermedia. Thank you for listening. Damn it, who put the question mark at the end of the teleprompter? I never know how to start these things. Is it in yet?
Oh no! If it is, I can't feel it.
Burn on me. Okay, well, so I guess you're kind of the first
Guest?
Yeah, you're the I want to say you're the first guest because that would be such an honor for you be on our podcast that's 7 episodes old.
I mean, I'm honored.
Yeah, you should be.
I was so flattered when you asked me.
The only other episode that we've had a guest on is the episode we did, the Harry Potter Trivial Pursuit. Mm-hmm. But that, I mean, it was an episode technically because we, published it, but it wasn't like a topic or anything.
It was like a fly on a wall sort of
situation. It had been a few weeks since we did an episode, so I wanted to do something, and we had like a couple come over, and they were Harry Potter nerds like we were, so we're like, let's play the game, and I was like, what if we recorded it?
It's a good idea.
So yeah, it turned out okay.
Are you saying I'm a nerd?
I'd hope you're at least a little bit of a nerd.
I don't think I would be here if I wasn't at least a little bit of one.
Yeah, it's hard for us to geek out sitting 15 feet away from each other.
We still do it very loudly though.
True.
And I feel like we always have an ear out for like a Parks and Rec or Office quote.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to having just like a unfiltered time to just let it all out. Yeah, no one's going to judge us.
With no cubicles in the way.
Exactly.
No cubicle will get in the way of this conversation.
Even though our cubicles are very open.
Yeah.
I'll peek over my mic instead of my computer screen.
Yeah. You're like, hey, David. Sorry, this is a podcast. And
you can't even see us.
Yeah, no one can see the fact that I just poked my head out from over my mic.
But it was creepy.
Yeah. Cool. That's what I was going for. Anyways, audience, today, like I said, we have a fucking fantastic guest. My personal hero. No, I'm just kidding.
Like, wow. That's...
No. I don't know why I said that because now I have to retract my statement of you being my personal hero. Cause,
you can just start over if you want.
Wow, that sounded like a heavy suggestion. Like you should start over.
I mean, I'm not saying that you have to.
Okay.
Just...
My dear friend Catie is sitting
me.
here with me today. She's a person that I work with, and she's fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
And she is a huge fan of Parks and Rec and a huge fan of The Office, which is great because that's the title of our episode today is
Yay!
The Office versus Parks and Rec. And we're both very, very excited to talk about both of them. Like we were just saying a few seconds ago, we talk about it all the time at work, but we are at work, so we can't really go nuts over it. Even though we definitely try to.
Oh, we do.
So
maybe we should just get a megaphone.
Right. Just, hey, Catie!
People usually end up joining in, so.
Yeah, we end up wrapping people into our conversation because we have to be loud or else.
Plus, it's The Office and Parks and Rec and everyone loves it.
Yeah.
That must mean we work with some cool people, too.
Precisely. So we do have a bunch of discussion points, and we will get to them here in just a second. But like I said, we do a segment at the beginning of every episode called the Nerdy News Update. Name's still kind of sort of pending. I've been saying the name is pending for like the past 5 episodes now.
It's probably stuck. I like it.
It's pending. It was pending because like I came up with Nerdy News Update because it was sort of kind of alliterative, and it just kind of stuck after a while. Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, I do too. So yeah, fuck it. You know
fuck
what?
It.
Nerdy News Update. That's
you
what
need some like sound effects, like like
our co-host
like
Connor. He's an awesome keyboardist, and he was supposed to do our intro music, and he got lazy, and I had to just buy some like royalty sort of kind of not so free music because you have to buy it. And
I like it though.
That's what ended up being our intro music. But I think eventually I'm going to have him like come up with some sound effects to insert like throughout the podcast, and especially like just a quick like maybe 3 or 5 second clip like Nerdy News Update, like something like that.
So you already threw my idea out. It's okay.
What was your idea?
It was not very cohesive. It was like a news broadcaster. It was like, this just in.
Okay, like the stereotypical old school like
yeah.
Like Leslie Knope when she was doing the
her own all the characters.
Yeah, that was pretty great.
The disaster preparedness.
Yeah,
it's a good one.
All right, I'm gonna need you to go ahead and give CPR to all the birds.
Oh yeah, because it's a bird flu.
Right. Yeah. Oh, so I'm gonna kill all the birds. So, anyways, Nerdy News Update. Would you like to go first?
I would love to go first. So,
all right. Lay it on me.
So mine is very relevant to what we're talking about. So Amy Poehler and Nick Offerman have a new show that's coming on NBC.
Do they?
They do.
Oh, God.
And
those are my 2 favorite people.
That happens
Present
to me.
company excluded.
Oh, thank you.
Oh.
But I'll make an exception for them. They're fabulous.
Sure.
So Amy Poehler's Paper Kite Productions. I just wanted to say that that. So that her production company is putting it together. It's going to be on NBC, and it's called The Handmade Project, and it's a competition reality show. And so it's 6 episodes that are going to be on NBC. And it's basically people competing with their various types of craftsmanship, which we know Nick Offerman. I don't know if you follow his wood shop on Instagram, but
I need to. I'm not very. The only activeness that I'm on Instagram is doing the Geek Garage podcast stuff, and that's usually like posting the title cards and our silly photos whenever we get together for episodes. So I need to find more people to follow so I can try and be more active on there.
Yeah, so his wood shop is on there, and then Amy Poehler has her, what is it? It's like Amy Poehler's Girl Club. That's not what it is, but it's something like that. And those are 2 that you should follow. Okay. They're really great. And it's great to see that, too, because it's such a reflection of their character. But then you just realize that's kind of how they are in real life, which makes it even better.
It is crazy how... Nick Offerman he's not exactly like Ron Swanson, but I feel like as the season, as each season went on, they kind of adopted some of his personality traits into the role of Ron Swanson, because they're both wood. I was going to say wood makers. They love their
probably
wood.
a wood maker for a lot of people.
No, I knew about him owning he has his own wood crafting studio in LA, I think.
I'm not sure, but they do incredible stuff.
Yeah, the first thing that I saw him do really was it was even before I started watching Parks and Rec. But I knew about him sort of kind of from the show, and I was watching Conan. And he was sculpting these giant, like this. Have you ever seen the emoji pillows, like at the mall, like the kiosk? They were that size, so they were really big, but they were made out of wood, and they were auctioning them off for like $100 plus.
That's
and
awesome.
It was like going to charity, I think. But like people could actually bid on them, and I think But so that was cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, I totally hijacked your.
Oh no,
your
it's
thing
okay.
there.
No, it's totally fine. I was done, really.
Don't lie to me.
I'm just excited about it.
Cool. No, it is very exciting. I'm hoping that I'll get a chance to watch because we don't have cable, and usually we have to end up like using someone's password to log in and use stuff.
I have a Hulu account. You can totally steal
Do
my.
you?
Yeah, I do.
I mean, part of me thinks that I should be concerned about talking about stealing people's passwords.
Yeah, I just thought about that.
Over podcast, but I looked at the metrics for our downloads today, and downside is that it's not where I'd like it to be. Upside is that there's very little chance of anyone of great importance listening to this and being like, I'm going to report them to the the piracy
police. Yeah, I don't think that any of this is going to be incriminating. It's fine.
It's all right. Fuck it.
Fuck it.
So anyways, so you're done.
I am done.
Cool.
What are you excited about?
My nerdy news update is the new Game of Thrones trailer that just dropped. This is the second episode in a row where I got excited about a trailer. Last episode, I don't know if you listened to it, but it was the Justice League trailer.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Did you? Mm-hmm. What'd you think?
I liked it.
Yeah.
That's not really, I mean, I'm into it. I think there are so many you just don't go batshit crazy. I don't.
That's cool.
I love Batman, and that's always been my thing. And my boyfriend is very nerdy, and he fills me in on all of the things.
Makes me very sad that he couldn't be here.
I know. I wish he could be too. Yeah. He's in Vegas doing God knows what right now. So. No, he's probably in his room watching the Justice League trailer, to be honest.
Masturbating.
Yes, definitely.
That's what you do in a hotel room in Vegas?
Yeah, definitely.
Or just any hotel room.
But to a Marvel movie trailer. Yeah.
It's very erotic. No, so, that's not what Justice League was last episode.
Yes.
And we've just spent like 5 minutes talking about Justice League, which was... not this episode.
And I don't even care about it.
Yeah.
Moving on to Game of Thrones. I love Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I think it was yesterday, right? That the trailer dropped. So that would have been Thursday, March the 30th, and it wasn't really action packed. It was just a bunch of voiceover work, and had the 3 or 4 central characters walking around, looking all, stone-faced and getting ready for war.
Yeah.
And
it's really the final 3, kind of.
Yeah.
You know?
It's Jon Snow, Daenerys, and Cersei. Mm-hmm. And basically just everyone's going to die.
Oh, yeah. 4 characters if you're including the White Walker eye at the end that's made an appearance in their trailers recently, too.
Yeah,
so.
that eye kind of faded into focus, and I was like, whose eye is that? And then all of a sudden it was like, and I was like, oh, no, I forgot about the what are they called? White Walkers?
Yes.
And
Winter has come. Oh, and when Cersei breathes out at the end and it's cold.
That's pretty epic.
I just think it was a really good reminder of where we're at with it to get you excited.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah, I think you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think the situation is it's only 2 more seasons, but they're kind of the first season is 7 episodes, and then the second one is only 6.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll make us wait like fucking 2 years for the next one.
Hopefully not. Maybe we're in luck and they're kind of working on them in tandem.
I hope so.
I know that's what they've done with some stuff in the past.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something to be excited about. So yay, Game of Thrones.
We're excited.
Yeah, it was kind of a bummer that it's not premiering in April. So they actually physically had to wait for winter to come so they could film it. I mean, you heard about that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had to film all these scenes like in snow, and they had to literally wait for snow to come. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
There are a lot of movies that have had to like move production, like The Revenant, for instance.
Yeah.
And that was one of the big, this is totally off topic, but one of the big contributing factors to why Leonardo DiCaprio is so interested in climate change and spreading the word is because they had to, I mean, they spent millions and millions, you know, added that to their budget to make that film happen.
Yeah. He included all that in his acceptance speech. And I was like I wanted there to be like good guy Leonardo memes to emerge from that.
Yeah.
And nothing really did. And that really, like, it frustrated me because no one really talked about how people talked about how he finally won his first Oscar. And that was awesome. But he won his first Oscar, and he used his acceptance speech of his first Oscar to talk about climate change instead of being like, yeah, I finally won. Like, that's just how kind of a fucking stand-up guy he
is. We need more memes, not just him throwing money off the balcony saying, I know guac is extra.
Yeah.
We don't need any more of that. We know guac is extra.
Did I stutter? Bring me the guac. I'm not really a guac fan. I'm more of
really?
the Blanco queso.
I like both.
Yeah.
I want all the
dipping sauces.
Yes.
Shall we get started on today's episode?
Sure.
Cool.
Let's do it.
Well, like I said, it's kind of The Office versus Parks and Rec, and it's not like fucking cage match go. It's it's not cage match style. It's more of like we're kind of going to talk about both. We might end up talking about Parks and Rec a little bit more because that's the show that both of us.
It really brought us together.
It did. It solidified the friendship that was already there. It poured hot wax over it and just solidified
of our holding hands, and then we made a candle out of it.
Right. Have you ever done that?
No, I think it's something you can do at like Gallenberg.
The first time I saw it was at the Renaissance Fair.
Oh, that makes sense too.
I'm not sure if they still have it, but that was the first time that I saw it.
I think Parks and Rec is just kind of more in the forefront too.
Sure. I mean, it's the most recent.
Yeah.
But I mean, The Office still has a crazy fan
definitely.
following. But yeah, we're just going to kind of talk about both. We're going to talk about each one sort of individually as well as compare them. So, do you, right off the bat, do you have a favorite episode that comes to mind? I mean, obviously it's really hard. Like, there's a million episodes for each one.
It is hard. I know my favorite episode of Parks and Rec though.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the snake juice episode.
Okay.
You already know, David. I've probably watched it like at least 20 times. There's no way that I've watched it a lot. And I was Janet Snakehole for Halloween.
Right, yeah.
And Chris was Burt Macklin, so.
Yes, this girl, ladies and gentlemen, she showed me pictures. She did not invite me to her fucking Halloween party. I don't know what her problem is.
It was a show. It was a concert.
Whatever. I don't care. No, unforgivable. No, her and her boyfriend went dressed as Burt Macklin and Janet Snakehole and showed me pictures, and it was awesome, so...
Yeah, it was pretty great. And that's really, I mean, that was the first episode that they really dress up like them.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, the whole episode is hilarious, but mainly the scene when they're talking to the camera after a crazy night of drinking snake juice all night. And each character has something to say. And all of them are funny. Of course, Ron capping it off with dancing in Janet Snakehole's little pillbox hat. But I think Ben turning to the camera and slurring "baba booey" is my favorite.
Do you know what that is? What it means? Okay.
Yeah, that one's a good one.
I wasn't sure if it was like a reference to another TV show or movie. If you have any idea, listeners,
comment and let us know.
Yeah, comment in the comments below. There is no comments below this far, so
there will be something on social media.
Yes, if you hear this, feel free to shout out at us, mainly on Twitter, because we're very inactive on Twitter. We post stuff on Twitter, but we don't like tweet a whole lot because we're lame.
Get on it, people.
Yeah, for rizzle.
Going back to my costume, one thing, and this is like another kind of cult following show that is still on and running. But so that night, you know, I thought people would come up to us and be like, "Oh my God,
Right.
Chance Nickel." That didn't happen. It's okay.
What the?
Yeah, right. It was not a good crowd.
That is really surprising.
But then, right before we were about to leave,
Okay.
Linda and Bob Belcher came up to us, and Linda knew exactly who we were, and she was like, "We were almost you for Halloween," and I was like, "We were almost you," because we really were. We've been wanting to do that for a long time,
Right.
and yeah, and then we all hugged it out, and it was
That's
so
awesome.
great.
You didn't know these people?
No.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
It's so great. That's why I love like going to conventions.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
because there's all all the cosplay, and you can see someone's awesome cosplay. And for the most part, it's totally okay to like just run up to this person
yeah, and
and
take
be
pictures
like,
and
yeah,
stuff too.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
great.
it made my night. I was glowing, and then I was like, "Okay, we can go now."
You just needed one good geek out
I
session
did,
with some strangers.
and they gave it to me. And I mean, coming from Linda, I just
How were their costumes? Were they good?
oh, they were good. Yeah,
Good.
they were really good.
I just recently started kind of watching Bob's Burgers. The tattoo artist that I went to for my last tattoo, he has a big screen TV set up in his studio. So who says big screen TV anymore?
You do.
I think
It's
they're
okay.
I think they're just referred to as TVs. And
I don't have a big screen TV, so I'm like, dang, that's a big screen TV.
oh, okay, cool. Sorry, that was an illegal segue. Anyways, he had Bob's Burgers going whenever I was getting my tattoo done. It served as kind of a welcome distraction from the pain that I was going through.
Yeah, I would love to watch that.
But yeah, it was really funny. I could see why a lot of people like it. So it's
Now
kind of in my Netflix queue to check out.
You would love it.
You know, there's my Netflix queue is just overloading right now. It's overflowing with just like content, and I'm like, I don't have any time to do any of this. So
It's research
yeah,
for like your side chick project.
my side chick,
Yeah,
my side host.
Yeah, your podcast.
Yeah.
Mistress.
It really is. Like I just try and figure out, the topics for my next episode in really any way that I can. Like I've even like in our podcast episodes, I've been like, if you have any ideas out there, like please tell me.
Bring
Not to
them
like
on.
sound desperate, but the Netflix original series episode, I got that idea from one of our listeners, which was really cool.
Yeah,
so
it was a good one.
it was cool to get a really cool suggestion and like have audience participation, which I always enjoy. Whenever people, reach out to us, so it doesn't feel so one-sided.
Yeah.
So
Well, so much of this is like an organic conversation too. So to kind of get that from
Right.
the people who are listening to it,
exactly.
it's always nice.
But
So what is your favorite episode? We got derailed again.
no,
I feel like that's going to happen a lot.
it's gonna happen. This episode might be like 3 hours long.
And you might not even hear this because we've cut all this shit out.
Yeah, no. But, all the shit that I say I'm going to cut out usually gets left in. So you get to hear us talking about leaving shit in or cutting shit out.
Or both.
Shit.
Whatever.
Yeah, we're both
Talking
drinking.
about the shit.
We're both drinking, so we got booze to tide us over. So, my favorite episode, or I don't even know if it's my favorite episode, but it's one of the ones that comes to mind. I used to really not like watching this episode because it would kind of make me depressed, but just overall, it's a great episode. I think it's, I've learned to love it, kind of, just because I've gotten over the depression. But it's the one, I think it's the very first Treat Yourself episode where they end up taking Ben to the mall with them.
Yes.
But it's like, that's the reason why it depressed me, is because for those of you that aren't too familiar with this series, is that's when Leslie and Ben were dating, and then they had to break up because Leslie starts running for city council. And so Ben is kind of down in the dumps, depressed a little bit. So they decide, Tom and
Donna?
Donna, yeah, thanks. They decide to take Ben along with them, and he tries on the Batman suit, and he's like, I know, guys, I need to treat myself. And Don is like, uh-oh, Batman's crying. But like the part that really got me was like when they're sitting like kind of in the courtyard at the end, and he's still in the Batman suit, but he's just kind of talking about how, you know, he was quote unquote dating a girl, and, you know, it ended. They're like, oh, that's why you've been off your game. And I don't know, like, it's just always struck a chord in me. I'm just like, oh, that's so sad. But I think it's just one of my favorite episodes because, I don't know, overall, I think it's a great episode.
Well, and treat yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, it gave you an excuse to treat yourself.
Yeah.
And a like mantra to go with it.
Pretty much. It's, I've had several treat yourself sessions since I discovered treat yourself.
I think that, and while you were talking about that, I think that's one thing that I love about Parks and Rec is in those sad moments, almost every sad moment in Parks and Rec, it's other people are involved and they lift that person up, you know, and that's what they
Very
do with
true.
Ben. And sometimes it's like somebody they don't want to invite, like fucking Jerry or somebody, and they still do it because they know that that's the right thing to do, and it's like their team, you know. So
hey, Jerry dinner. Oh, you didn't do it along with me.
I'm sorry.
You're supposed to say Jerry dinner at a slightly higher pitch.
Jerry dinner.
Jerry dinner. Fail.
That episode. Poor Jerry.
Yeah, and then they show up to finally they get Jerry when they finally decide to bring him along, and he's having a fucking party.
And then he gets locked out of the party whenever he lets him in.
Yeah. I meant to tell you, or no, I didn't mean to tell, I meant to tell you right now because I was saving it for the podcast. When I was, I wrote down a bunch of trivia, that I was looking up today. One of the trivia facts was, you know, how we were kind of talking about the reason why Jerry has such a hot wife is basically because he has a giant dick.
Yes.
Which was kind of
the largest penis he's ever seen.
Yeah, it was unveiled in the episode where Anne brings in the doctor from her hospital to check all the men for mumps.
Yeah, after the dick pics.
Yeah, and he's like, I didn't even check to see if he has mumps. I was distracted by the largest penis I've ever seen. So that was kind of both of our theories on why he scored Gale is because he's got the biggest penis that anyone has ever seen. However, according to the people that wrote the show, they felt so bad for giving him the shit end of the stick every single episode. Like, he's just the butt of every single joke. He's the office scapegoat. They decided to give him the perfect home life. Like the beautiful wife and 3 beautiful daughters, and just everything's like picture perfect. They felt so bad for, you know, doing all that to him, so they gave him the perfect home life.
That's so Parks and Rec-esque.
Exactly.
I love that.
Which is another reason to love the show.
I think the best, like, Jerry burn is when they were on Entertainment Weekly, the cover, and they put the Entertainment Weekly logo over his face. So it's like a big group photo, and he's in the background with his arms around everybody, and his face is covered up by Entertainment. I love it.
That's pretty great.
Poor Jerry.
What about The Office? I know you said you haven't seen The Office as much as you've seen Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite Office episode?
I watched The Office a lot. I mean, pretty obsessively. During college, I had a roommate who loved it, and she got me into it. And I think it was kind of after Michael left. I kind of tapered off. But I would say that The Injury is one of my favorites.
I just watched that episode the other day
mainly because it has one of the funniest, I mean, the whole episode is hilarious, and for those of you who don't know Office episodes by their name, this is when Michael burns his foot on the George Foreman because he likes to wake up to the smell of cooking bacon.
It's delicious. It's good for him.
And
that's the line that gets me like every time. He's like, so Sumi, it's delicious. It's good for me.
It's a vitamin B. Like, it's bacon, you know? And so, anyway, but I love when Dwight, he's trying to get Ryan to come. He's like, Ryan, come take me to work.
Don't send Dwight.
Don't send Dwight. Dwight's like, I'm coming, Michael. He gets in his car, drives out of the parking lot, crashes into the pole, gets out disoriented, and vomits all over the hood of his car. And that is one of my favorite moments in The Office. It's funny great. Moments. It's great.
It's great because, like, you have to soak up that first and second season humor, because after the second season, once it gets into a little bit into the third season, but mostly after the third season and beyond, the humor and tone kind of changes a little bit. It's much less awkward. It's kind of like the rest of it. The rest of it is like just Parks and Rec in general, a little bit more upbeat. But yeah, the first season and the second season, it's pretty painful to watch. Very cringeworthy.
Yeah, I think too, part of it is that you just develop a relationship with the characters.
Yeah. So
it's not, you're watching them and you're just like, oh God, that's awkward, or this person, like, what's going on with that? The storylines haven't developed. Right. And I think by that time you are fully invested too. And so I think that even the sadder moments become so much more sad because they're your little office family.
Yeah.
You care about them.
Yeah, you finally get invested in all the characters. Yeah. I think my favorite episode is if you were to allow me to combine the wedding episodes, because it is split into 2 episodes.
Yes.
It would be the wedding episodes, just them dancing to Chris Brown, like dancing
so good.
to the.
I love that song. I'm not even gonna lie. I love that song.
I fucking love it too.
You love some pop music like I do.
I do.
It's kind of like we keep it on the down low, but we love it.
No, I fucking like. Like I blast like Katy Perry and
I hear it
and Carly Rae Jepsen. Like it's the loudest music that I play. I maybe it's because like you can actually discern their vocals out of the rest of the music, because I listen to a lot of like hardcore and like punk and stuff, and so I think when the music bleeds out of the headphones, it's a little less. It's a little harder to discern what you're listening to. But when you're listening to Katy Perry and Carly Rae Jepsen, it's kind of hard to hide it.
Yeah, it's also hard to be in a bad mood.
It is. They just kind of do it for me. They kind of put me in a good mood. So yeah.
But the wedding episodes.
Yeah. I was like, wait, what were we talking about?
I saw your face. I was like, okay, I'm going to reel you back in to...
Yeah, so the wedding episodes, that's probably my favorite. If you want to combine those into one episode, it's probably my favorite. Just overall, like, because the payoff for their wedding was so great. Like, the distance between Ben and Leslie finally getting together and then getting married was much shorter than Pam and Jim finally getting together. And plus they spent a full 3 seasons being separated, whereas I don't think Leslie and Ben spent 3 seasons separated. I think it only might have been 1 season, maybe a season and a half.
Jim and Pam went through a lot more too. I think with Ben and Leslie, like, they're both successful, driven people,
right? And
they both love their work, and that was what was holding them back, right? And but with Jim and Pam, I mean, it was themselves. It was Pam's horrible relationship with what's his fucking face, Roy.
A fucking tool bag.
It was them both pursuing different dreams that they had, or not pursuing them. It was just, they went through a lot more.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my favorite. Yeah, I guess we can touch on another topic now.
Well, we were kind of talking about Jim and Pam and Leslie and Ben.
Yeah.
I mean, we could talk about that if you want.
Sure.
Or what do you want to talk about?
Let's see, did I have something like that on here?
Yeah, you did the on-screen relationships.
Oh, yeah. Like the first topic that I had on the list, which
the first one that you shared with me.
Yeah, the better, which was the better on-screen romance.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there's no way we can be objective about this. It's totally a subjective choice. For me personally, it's really hard. Like it's very difficult, but see, even now I'm trying to decide because
you don't have to decide.
Yeah, I mean they're both very good. Like we just discussed, I think the payoff for Jim and Pam was a little bit better because we had that tension and build up to, you know, them finally getting married. So when they got married, like every time I watch the wedding episode, I'm like, oh, good. Like I'm a fucking mess.
Oh yeah.
So especially if I'm like watching the seasons leading up to it and not just that episode.
I could just watch that episode and just have a good cry.
This is kind of off this topic, but Kevin at the very end when he's like walking in his tissue box shoes.
Yeah.
And he's like, I got 6 phone numbers. One more and it would have been a full phone number.
Oh, Kevin.
He's such a fucking idiot.
I have to share this and then we can get back on our topic.
Yeah.
But so, okay. Obviously when he spills his chili,
I was just
that's hilarious. That. It is like one of the funniest scenes in The Office, period. So I had a similar situation like that happen at a job where someone was trying to change the like Culligan water, big giant jug that is however many gallons. I don't know. I mean, it's like 6 or 7 gallons.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
So they fucked it up and they spilt all of the water on the floor. And they
like
kind of...
all of it? The whole thing?
It was like the whole thing. It was, wow. Yeah. And, it just reminded me of Kevin and the chili. And it was like, they almost had a panic moment where they were like, oh, like trying to stop. Like, what do I do? Like he takes the clipboard and tries to like get the chili back in the pot.
I think one of the things that makes that so funny, such a great cold open to that episode, was his voiceover, because like you see him like slipping in the chili and shit, and like he's talking about how great the chili is, and the voiceover he's like, I like to undercook the onions so that everything gets to know each other in the pot while it cooks. And he's just like slipping in the chili.
I saw a meme today and it was when Kevin's talking about tacos and he's like, I get so excited about tacos that I crush them. He's like, I can't eat them because I get so excited and I crush them.
I can relate to Kevin on like a spiritual level because like in all fairness, I should look like Kevin with all the junk food that I eat. Like I should look like Kevin. But
you have a good head of hair. You have some nice hair. So that's your other. Kevin is bald.
Yeah.
I was just giving you a non-Kevin.
Okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Sorry, that's just.
You're like, what the fuck does that have to do with what I'm saying right now?
It's all right. I'm just slow. That's what it boils down to.
Which is relatable to Kevin too.
Yeah. So what do you favor Leslie and Ben, their relationship over Pam and Jim?
I mean, I think that Pam and Jim, like you said, it's so much more satisfying. They went through so much more. Jim is just so romantic. Mm-hmm. I mean, just some of the things that he did throughout the season, all the seasons were just, I mean, it's like, I mean, who does that? There are parts of Ben and Leslie that I like more, like I said, because, they both really care about their jobs and they love their work. And I really feel like they lift each other up. Mm-hmm. And, Jim and Pam do that too. But I just think that there was such a focus on Ben and Leslie's careers. And I always, I felt like Ben really kind of like gave Leslie the spotlight in so many ways. And I just think that there's a lot of like female empowerment throughout Parks and Rec. It's what Leslie's about.
And I like that down as kind of a talking point.
I would bring it up.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I added it, but I knew that it was kind of already added to our talking points. Was the fact that we were going to mention how it's the show, the overarching theme, or one of the many, is you could say feminism, basically.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, Parks and Rec, The Office, there are a lot of just like standard gender roles going on in The Office, but yeah, Parks and Rec. I mean, that's one thing I really loved about it, and like I said, I was thinking about it. I cannot think of the name of her group. I want to say it's like Amy Poehler's Smart Girls or something like that. But I think that she really lives
it's not
that
the Pawnee Goddesses?
It's not. I wish it was.
I wish I could be a Pawnee Goddess.
I have a Pawnee Ranger badge, and I told you I left it at home. I wanted to wear it.
I know.
I need a Pawnee Goddess one. That would be even better. But
you should make one.
I should. Out of felt, like in true Leslie Knope fashion, and then I'll make like a binder on how I did it, and it'll be like 100 pages. But yeah, I really love that. I mean, me and my group of girlfriends, we have a Galentine's Day every year, and we make I make waffles, and we drink mimosas. And this past one, we actually kind of put together sort of an action plan for ourselves, and we talked about, issues in our community and in the country right now. And that's not just because of Leslie Knope, but she is just kind of like a guiding force in our lives,
Right.
I have a little printout on my desk, and it says, be the Leslie Knope of everything you do. And
I see it.
Yeah, I truly believe that. She's awesome.
She is quite a role model. That's the one thing, like, The Office doesn't. I mean, you could role model after a couple of the characters if you wanted to, but I don't think it has a role model quite as strong as Leslie Knope. And you could even make make an argument for Ron as a role model.
Oh, definitely.
Even though he's his kind of outlook it's not necessarily dim, but it's anti-government, and it's kind of the yin and yang to Leslie's point of view. But I definitely think that you could see him as kind of a role model.
I think
too.
all of them. And Tom ends up writing the book in the end where he has
don't be a Jerry.
Yeah, don't be a Jerry. And then Ben takes it and he's a Tom, and he's like, I need to rewrite this. But I think that you can see a little bit of yourself in all the characters, both shows. But I think that when people compare themselves to people in The Office, it's usually not a positive thing. Like you were just talking about Kevin. You're like, I should look like Kevin. Like, that's not that positive, But I think in Parks and Rec, you can say some positive things about the characters and, relate to them in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Another topic that I had down was which had the better quotes or is more quotable. Do you want to take the reins on this, or?
I was thinking about this. I think Parks and Rec is like a little bit more like real life. Kind of, you can, like, Ron is so insightful, and there are lots of, positive kind of quotes that you can pull from it that are, those are the ones I print out and put at my desk, but I think The Office it's like when you can quote The Office with people who know about The Office, same thing with Parks and Rec, but especially The Office,
right.
It's like you're part of this little community kind of, and you can find some like-minded individuals when you quote that, Yeah.
I also think that this is kind of subjective. It's funny that I wrote which had the better on-screen romance and which has the better, which has the best quotes.
You said this wasn't going to be a cage match.
Right.
It's turning into a cage match.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Battle Royale.
Bring out the chairs and the ladders.
Right. Yeah. Wrestling. 11 wrestling tickets. I kind of agree with that. Like them kind of being on two different levels. You kind of have to treat them differently. Like Parks and Rec, their quotes are definitely more uplifting, more insightful. And we're going to talk a little bit about, because you brought up this today, the difference between the two shows, the feel of the show. I'm going to let you go into it later on, because you put it much more eloquently than I could ever do. But yeah, if I had to choose one over the other, I don't know. It would be hard. I'd probably go with Parks and Rec, just because the quotes do tend to be a little bit more insightful and motivational. If I'm going for humor, definitely The Office.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, just Michael Scott's quotes alone, like how he mispronounces words, makes part that's part of why they're so funny. And Dwight's quotes, they're pretty fucking hilarious too. But yeah, that's kind of where I stand on the two.
I feel like you feel like you have to make a choice.
I mean, I know I don't have to, but like I feel like maybe I do, because I put down which has the
versus.
Better. Right. I'm just an idiot. That's basically what it boils down to.
Don't say that. We can love them both equally.
Yeah.
I love Parks and Rec more now, I feel like. The Office will always have a special place in my heart, but
you can relate more to Parks and Rec. That's cool. Yeah. One thing we can quickly talk about is changes in physical appearance. Alongside with that, the production value of both shows. Definitely The Office. The production value for Parks and Rec changed maybe a little bit, but for the most part, in The Office, like the tones were so monochromatic in the first two seasons, like just a lot of grays, and the overall quality was just very dull. There wasn't a lot of high contrast. But you skip to like season 3, and especially season 4 and 5 and 6 and so forth. Like you get a lot of higher contrast, better resolution, because that's kind of when HD started coming along and being more commonplace. But yeah, those first couple of seasons, like the overall look was a little dull.
Same for the characters. Their hair was awful.
Right.
Everyone's hair was terrible. But when you...
Pam in particular.
Pam's was terrible.
Frizzy mess.
And same Jim. Jim had like basically a bowl cut. And
it was pretty damn terrible.
And I know we've talked about this before, but was it on purpose? Was it part of character development? Were they, did they?
I'd like to think so.
Yeah.
It would make sense, because he does eventually get like a nicer haircut.
So does Pam.
Yeah.
And I think that in the beginning they were going for like a very dramatic look. Like Dwight kind of stayed the same, but it was even more like slick to his forehead, his hair, and then Michael had like basically hair plugs. And
right.
So I do think that they wanted to like reinforce that, those characteristics of them. But yeah, that I would love to see an interview with the creators to see how much of it was on purpose, and then how much of it was, it's a show that spanned years, and things change even just in what people just in society.
Right.
I'd
love to own the DVDs. It's one of the downfalls of having them on Netflix is that if they weren't on Netflix, I definitely own both of these shows, like all the seasons on DVD. Do
you have any of them?
I don't think I have any of them on
I
DVD.
have the first 4 seasons of The Office, and it says they're in like a box set, and it's DVDs. I got them at McKay's for pretty cheap, and it says the deluxe package, and then it says that's what she said. Pretty sure it's the deluxe package.
That's
awesome. I was like, I don't need to own these, but that makes it so much better.
Yeah. So yeah, that was kind of an interesting thing that both of us noticed, like Donna's hair.
Oh,
was,
yeah.
I mean, it's obviously kind of a wig. Who knows?
Her hair was always a wig. Remember? Oh, the bloopers. There's
Yeah,
a blooper where she takes her wig off and puts
yeah,
it in the time capsule.
That was pretty damn hilarious. Yeah, if you listeners, if you didn't know that the bloopers, one, they're awesome because they're all fucking hilarious, but they're all available on YouTube. Like, they have like compilations, like best of bloopers, and then they have like all the seasons bloopers on YouTube.
And they have like best Chris Pratt bloopers, and they're
Right.
and really good because his are the funniest.
Yeah, like when he throws the suitcase and he
The
like
briefcase.
breaks the light switch.
And Chris Traeger's like, that is fucking hilarious.
Yeah, he's like, I don't think Props is gonna be able to fix that.
Oh, what? I had something. Oh, I think too that, you know, The Office, it wasn't such a stark change in people's appearance. I think that it happened gradually over time. But Parks and Rec, I really think after the first season, they honed in on what they wanted. And I think that it was to not be like The Office.
Yeah.
You know, I think that it was, and, you know, I think that I've heard from so many people, they were like, it took me a while to get into Parks and Rec because I just felt like it was an Office ripoff. And it felt like that a little bit in the beginning. There were a lot of similar dynamics. Even Leslie Knope seemed a little oblivious to what everybody else thought about her in a very Michael Scott sort of way. And I think that once they kind of got out of that idea of really making it more like a documentary, like The Office is, all the characters changed. The way that they even filmed a little bit changed. It was just took on a new life, but I think it made it what it is.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree with all that. Very well put.
And I know that was something else we were going to talk about was the fourth wall, you
Yeah.
know. And
I feel like The Office had a lot more of the cuts to like the interviews, like with the individual characters. I feel like The Office had a lot more of those than Parks and Rec did. So
yeah, I think that there were less kind of prompted questions in Parks and Rec. It was more like they were just telling you.
Yeah.
Like they saw you and they were like, here's what's going on in my life.
Yeah.
You know?
It
So-
also felt like there was a lot less like awkward looking at the camera, like how Jim would look at the camera a lot and the other characters in The Office. I feel like that was done a little bit less in Parks and Rec. I did, when I was doing the trivia research earlier today, I did, I saw a couple things about how you were just talking about how a lot of people didn't like Parks and Rec right off the bat because it seemed like an Office ripoff. Apparently it was supposed to be an Office spinoff. Like right off the bat, it was, I don't know how they were going to tie it in, but they ended up rewriting it as not an Office spinoff. I can't remember exactly why. I think they just decided to make it its own thing, but I think that's kind of how it ended up being. Like it was kind of like an Office spinoff. They kind of adopted the same things, like the breaking the fourth wall and shit like that.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think that, well, and I know, you and I have talked about this previously, but really The Office, I mean, they definitely reinforced that, but you definitely kind of forgot that the film crew was there, But then whenever they did kind of introduce them into a scene, which really the most memorable one is when Michael is leaving. He thought Pam would be back already, but he didn't tell anybody he was leaving.
Right.
She's going and seeing a movie and shit, and
I was like, Pam, what are you doing? Michael's
oh my
leaving.
God, I know.
It was so stressful.
So stressful. There are lots of moments like that in The Office, I feel like. And but then she goes to the airport and she has to rip off her mic, and then you don't hear what happens, but it's so touching. And
Right.
I always cry.
That was pretty perfect. How they did that. Like you couldn't, like I always like wanted to know what they said to each other, what she said to him. But I thought it was pretty perfect because when you think about all the different characters and their relationship with Michael, Pam was really the one who had the most intimate relationship with Michael that was non-sexual, because she was the receptionist for so long. So she, worked the closest with Michael.
Yeah. Her relationship with him was probably more intimate than some of his sexual ones, though.
Probably.
Like Jan.
Yeah. She was kind of like his non-loving version of Leslie.
Yeah.
Like what Leslie is to Ron.
Well, and Pam is just such a loving... I mean, she does have a little bit of Leslie to her in that she, she sees something going down in the office that's either not right or someone is, hurting for whatever reason or being left out. I think that Pam is all about being inclusive, and that just kind of follows throughout the entire office,
Right.
And Jim is on board too. They're kind of like the voice of reason and just like a comforting presence. Yeah. With most of the characters, I think. Mm-hmm. So. Yeah,
for sure. Let's talk about some long-running jokes in both of these series. Let's start with Parks and Rec. Of course, there's not a whole lot of long-running jokes. I mean, there's there's the same kind of joke rewrapped a bunch of times. But and then there's like kind of long running jokes that kind of have that long running joke format. My personal favorite is the jokes between Ben and little Sebastian.
Yes. He just doesn't get it.
I don't get it. It's kind of a small horse. Oh, baby, were you just winning? Yeah, I heard it. He just looks at the camera and just shakes his head. He's like, God damn it.
I feel like Ben and April have the most moments with the camera because they're so, irritated by everyone.
Yeah, for sure.
And he is most irritated about little Sebastian.
I would love a Ben and April spin-off show. I think they would make a great spin-off show.
Well, when they were in DC together, or where were they? DC? Yeah. I mean, they were such a good little team, and they, they're so different.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think April always kind of looked up to Ben, in a lot of ways, and
right. She would never let anyone know.
No.
But which of course is her personality. Did you have a fun favorite long-running joke for Parks and Rec? I know we talked a little bit about Jerry and his hot wife.
Oh yeah, Jerry and the hot wife, and then just how they are so mean to him all the time.
Right. I love how they're so mean to him, but it never phases him. There's maybe one or two times where he looks genuinely sad because they made fun of him, but they're like, Jerry, get the hell out of here, and he's like, okay, guys.
Yeah, no, he really is, and he also, I mean, he it's almost like he's just appreciative that they're even acknowledging him. Mm-hmm. Poor Jerry.
But then again, the reason why he's so upbeat all the time and he's able to take all that crap is because he's got a fucking smoking hot wife.
Yeah, and the largest penis ever.
Yeah, make a manatee blush.
It's making me blush right now. Yeah, I don't know. With Parks and Rec, I feel like a lot of the jokes, I mean, there's jokes that go on with characters because of the characters that they are. Mm-hmm. One of my favorites, and Craig, Billy Eichner's character, when he starts to get a handle on his anger and he has those lists that he reads out to himself, and it will be random things of fashion and pop culture
brick.
And interior decorating and whatever else. I love those, and it carries on for lots of episodes. And then there's one point where he's like, I'm almost out of things, and he's so distraught about it. I love that.
It's I love his when he goes off about finding artists for the Unity concert, and he's like, someone described themselves as Jackson Pollock-esque. Oh my God! Someone described themselves as holy shit! I can't fucking.
You can
Jackson
do it.
Pollock-esque, and I said that's finger painting for adults, and I hate it.
Oh God,
This is why This is why I could never be an actor, because it would take me like 50 takes to get my lines.
What was Amy Poehler's Amy Poehler's Paper Kite Productions?
Something like that.
Yeah, I practiced it a couple of times before I said it,
it's
so
it's a
okay.
tongue twister.
I think The Office honestly has some better long running jokes.
Yeah, the Office had a couple ones with Toby. I mean, Toby is in kind of in a way the Office's version of Jerry. I mean, they give him crap a little bit differently than Jerry. Like in Parks and Rec, everyone is on board with giving crap to Jerry except for Ben, which loves Jerry.
Yeah.
But in the Office, really, not everyone is on board with giving Toby as much crap
Mostly
as Michael is.
Yeah.
Like, and it's kind of inexplicable why he hates him so much, which is just like the reason why everyone gives Jerry crap. No one knows.
Yeah.
Like, no one really knows why he treats Toby. I mean, like, you could draw up a few theories. Because he said, like, he's just so blah.
Well, he, like, kills the fun. Like, that's Michael's thing, is, like, you're HR and you're my enemy because I am an HR fucking nightmare. You know, and he knows it.
Why are you the way that you are?
Exactly.
Every time.
What gives you the right?
What gives you the right? Who do you think you are? I'm Toby. That's right. What gives you the right? I brought the binder in. We have questions in there.
And then he brings that binder up to his face. He's like, I will kill you. That is one of my favorite episodes, because he is meeting Holly. And that's exciting. And that is one of my favorite episodes. I think I like it better than The Injury now that I'm talking about it. That is a well-written episode in the fact that it ties everything together so nicely. You've got Michael remembering that his grandmother has been giving him extra money for like months and months, and he pays for Toby's going away party, and then Holly comes in, he's smitten.
We can't forget how fucking heartbreaking it is at the end.
Oh yeah, definitely.
When Jim wanted to propose to Pam,
and
Andy beat him to it
with Angela.
With Angela.
I'm glad we both had the same reaction.
Yeah,
and then they have the interview, and he's gonna give them the box. Does it have poop in it?
No, it has a rock.
A rock. Okay.
It says like
is there
suck
a turd
on this.
in there? Yes.
Like a sticky note. And it says like suck on this.
He puts his watch in there, and as Toby's leaving at 5:00, the alarm goes off, and it's because Michael said it to celebrate.
He calls up security to escort him out. He's like, just in case you steal anything.
But and then and Holly thinks that Kevin is special needs. Oh my gosh. And he's like, I can drive. She's like, you drive a car?
Yeah, do you have a car too? M&Ms are my favorite candy.
That is just one of the best episodes.
But you might be able to make a case for the fact that that was sort of a long-running joke, because it carried into the very next season, because that was the season finale for like season 4 or 5.
Yeah, I think so.
And then in the very next the next episode, it might have been the first or second episode, where she like Angela is yelling at Kevin, and she's like, no, you do not yell at him.
Oh yeah, it keeps going.
She goes, no, he's stupid. And she goes, he is not stupid, he is mentally retarded. And Kevin goes, wait, you think I'm retarded?
Oh no. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Oh well, and Michael's rendition of that song, I don't even know what the real words are, because I always sing it as goodbye Toby, it's been nice. Toby Toby's moving away, see ya.
Yeah, it was pretty great. But yeah, there's that, and then there's what else? Jim pranking Dwight.
Oh yeah,
like that was kind of an ongoing joke. Just the different pranks that he would pull.
Chris told me that there is, I don't know if it's an article or if it was like a YouTube video where they're going through all of the pranks. But somebody totaled up how much it would have cost.
Yeah,
it was like $180,000.
Yeah, I downloaded the Excel doc.
Did you?
Yeah.
You nerd. I love it.
am. Like, I was expecting something like it was just very funny to just download an Excel doc that someone created.
It was like so many packets of Jell-O,
right.
And
like it's just amazing how these people have free time like this to, or maybe they just made time for it.
Maybe they work for a geek podcast and they got paid to do it.
That could be true. That would be awesome to get on that next level shit of being paid to do this. That would be
paid to
amazing.
Make Excel docs of.
Yeah, I mean, I'd totally do it if someone wanted to throw me like $10. I'd make an Excel doc.
$10. Well, I guess that's like $10 to just watch The Office all over again and take notes.
Pretty much.
A little bit of research.
Yeah. So yeah, we can move on to another one. Let's see. Did you have any characters that you thought about might make like a good crossover, like crossed over, like not like necessarily a new show, but which characters would like get along with each other?
Yeah. Well, I think Michael and Ron would have like this mutual respect. I think that Michael would maybe be threatened by Ron.
Most likely.
But if he wasn't, I think that I kind of have this scene in my head where, you know, Michael would call one of his ridiculous meetings and, you know, Ron would just kind of like look at his watch, sit down at the table, look at the camera, just like, yeah, let's waste some government time and money.
Yeah,
he'd
be back there with Stanley, like they'd be like trading crossword puzzle books.
They could actually be friends, but I think that Ron would appreciate Michael's style.
Because he wastes time. Yeah, because he's into wasting company time.
Yes.
Yeah. Now imagine Michael being in the position of Leslie, like having her position and like constantly fucking shit up. Like Ron would have a field day.
I think that they would have the funniest interactions because they would be, Leslie would be so just not about Michael Scott, you know, like she would be so disgusted with him and he would be hitting on her nonstop.
Probably.
He would be in love with her. And I mean, she's got a Holly vibe.
Yeah.
You know, he would be all about it. I hadn't thought about this until now, but I think that April and Stanley would like each other.
Yeah.
I think that they would have a mutual respect. And then I also think that that April would get a kick out of Meredith.
April, we kick out of Meredith. Yeah.
Like, because April always has like a weird fascination with like horrible women. Yeah.
Joan Calamezzo.
Yeah. She's my long lost, cold, distant mother.
Right.
You know, like she would be about some Meredith.
Yeah, that's true. I thought this maybe would work, maybe not. Dwight and Ben.
They would nerd out together.
Yeah, they would definitely nerd out. I don't know if they would be like just consistent friends, but they would definitely like because you know Dwight, he's all about like Battlestar Galactica and like playing video games and stuff and Lord of the Rings. Even though according to Ben's character, he says he's not a fan of I'm not a fan of Peter Jackson's interpretation, so you can go ahead and put that one to bed.
Yeah, I think that they would relate because I think Ben catches a lot of shit.
He does.
So I think that
especially from Tom,
he would have an ally, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's those are the only ones that I could really think of. Maybe Toby and Jerry, just because they're kind of the outcasts. Yeah. I feel like they could like sit back in the annex together and not say anything all day and be totally cool with it.
Yeah, or just do like mundane tasks because Jerry loves that shit.
Right. Just stuffing envelopes.
Yeah, the wrong way and then he'll just do them over.
Well, it's like I always say, it's not government work if you don't do it twice.
And Donna will just sip coffee and watch.
Coffee. I got a date with a hot fireman. Calls him back. Actually, I'm sorry, Marcus, I can't come. Something very fascinating is happening. Let's see. Yeah, so we kind of talked a little bit briefly about how The Office was maybe came off as a little bit more like deep or emotional, a little bit more existential than Parks and Rec was. Like one of my there was, I mean, both had very much had like life lessons to them, but there was a lot of stuff in The Office that like personally resonated with me. Like we were kind of talking about this earlier today, like when Jan came to have like Ladies' Day or whatever it was. It was like in the second season, and she tells Pam that there's a company funded college program that she could go and do graphic design, and Pam's like making up excuses not to do it, and because she knows in the back of her head that Roy's gonna like say no and say that it's like stupid because he doesn't understand.
Fucking Roy.
Like, yeah, fucking Roy.
He's fucking horrible.
Fucking dickhead. He's pretty much the worst. He was there just so it could be an obstacle.
He got tased, right?
Yeah. By,
Dwight.
Yeah, but was it Tay? No, it was Mace.
Oh, it was Mace.
Yeah,
yes.
and everyone, because I was like,
I've got it mixed up with my other common like weapon I carry around in my purse.
Mace, taser, same. Can you imagine like a Mace taser combo?
I can make that happen.
Can you?
Do you want me to try it out
Is
on
it
you?
kind of like a Zippo lighter duct tape
Ooh.
to a
I didn't even think
hairspray?
about it catching on fire. I don't think that that's a thing, but
is Mace is it flammable?
It looks like it would be flammable.
What if it is? I wonder if they did like a Mythbusters episode.
I mean, we can try it. I have both in my purse.
Okay, cool. We'll try that after. Anyways, what were we talking about?
Sorry, we were talking about deep existential shit, and
and we got off topic.
It was Roy. It was Roy's fault.
Yeah, but yeah, she's making up excuses not to do it because she knows in the back of her head that she, there's going to be roadblocks, and Jan just straight up says to her, there's always a million reasons not to do something. And that always resonated with me because, when I was like trying to go back to school, in my own life, I was like always making up excuses. And when I saw that, I was like, fuck, that hits close to home. So, just little things like that. I mean, there's a million more examples like that.
I think with Pam, I mean, there was definitely... And all of the characters, for that matter, in The Office. And this kind of ties into, some of those overarching themes. But, self-worth. Mm-hmm. Like Jim being worthy of Pam's love.
Right.
And him, being worthy of stepping up and saying, letting her know his feelings for him. For her, and same thing with Pam, especially. It's just she got so much more confident. She figured out kind of what she wanted to do with her life, and really started standing up for herself. Yeah, and I think you see that with a lot of the characters.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that The Office really nailed, especially since they had 9 seasons to do it with. Is that they had really strong character development and transformations along the way. Is that you see both Jim and Pam, especially Pam, start out as very, I don't want to say weak, but just, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? They're just not confident.
Yeah, they're not confident.
Yeah, but like I said, especially Pam, she knows that she deserves much more than Roy, but I mean, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to being in a relationship that you sunk so much time into that you'd much rather continue down that road than have to start all over again.
Yeah.
And that's just another thing that the show does right is nailing real life relationships on screen. I mean, lot of, like, so many people can relate to the relationship issues that, you know, some of the characters had to go through, especially like Michael, like, having such a hard time finding love.
Yeah. Well, and kind of just having to like get over himself a little bit, you know, and like self-worth for him too. I mean, Michael alludes to like a pretty rough past a few times, you know, like a rough childhood. I think he had like I might just be like fucking making this up right now, but I'm pretty sure he had a stepdad that was not very nice to him.
That sounds familiar.
Oh, it's when Toby kind of tricks him into because he has to do some kind of like counseling with
he has
him.
to do the anger management or something like that.
And he has to because he hit his nephew.
He spanked his nephew
in front of everyone.
You cannot do things like this, Luke.
Yes. So, but yeah, I think Michael is just such a tragic character.
Yeah, we're kind of slowly transitioning into what I was alluding to earlier, the topic that you came up with, which was kind of ongoing themes for both shows. And for The Office, you said an ongoing theme was like finding happiness in what you have,
while the Parks and Rec, it's more finding happiness without limits, sort of, you know, and it can be outside of what you have because you can always reach for more, you know, because I think in The Office there is, you know, it's people, they're stuck in an office job. They go about their day. There's so many daily routines. They really focus on that like office life, you know, and when you've worked in an office, you're like, yeah, that's how it is, you know? And I think for so many of the characters, they start as these people working at a paper company, and they find happiness in the little things every day, you know, with each other, with their situations. You know, they have little fun things that they do in the office Olympics. They have little competitions. They have little dance parties. They like do these things that make life worth living in an office, you know, and I think that, you know, while Parks and Rec, it's really people trying to figure out what's going to make them happy. And it's not about, they don't, you know, they're comfortable, but they want more.
Right.
And there's an inherent kind of cynicism with The Office because of the environment that they're in. Scranton, Pennsylvania. It's always just kind of like, you know,
dreary.
It's just dreary. It's got a dreary vibe, a darker vibe. And, but then the light shines through. And I think with Parks and Rec, Leslie just is a beacon of light and energy. And she just, you know, emits that all the time, and it's infectious. And it carries on to everyone. And she and Ron both have such an impact on everyone to pursue their dreams and each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, like I said, I wanted to let you explain that. That's, you know, that for you listeners, that's the biggest thing that that Catie had to really contribute. I don't want to make that sound like she didn't contribute anything else, which is not true. But like she came to me earlier today with that, and my eyes were just like, holy shit, like I didn't even fucking think about this.
And I have to give partial credit to my boyfriend because he brought up the happiness part with Parks and Rec, and then I've just been pondering, you know, I've been thinking about it a lot leading up to tonight, but I just kept thinking about that and making that comparison with The Office. And I think that the last episodes of each are a perfect example of those two themes, because The Office, you know, they're reflecting on how the documentary affected their lives and the happiness that it brought them and the positive change that they saw in themselves and with each other, and you know, how they became a community, even if some of them have moved on and they're doing other things. And then, you know, in Parks and Rec, so in The Office, they're really looking to the past, but in Parks and Rec, they actually fast forward to the future and they show where everyone is now, and then they bring them all together again, you know, and I just think that it's a good way to wrap it up because it's still those same people that you love, and it just solidifies the people that they became and the impact that they had on each other and the impact that they had on you. It's just this wonderful time of reflection of like these people that you've become so close with.
And I feel like we should take a second to really say thank you to both of those shows for really nailing the series finales, because doing a series finale for any show is extremely difficult. Mainly a long-running show. Like The Office was 9 seasons. Parks and Rec was what, like 7 or 8?
I think it was 7. I think it was 7. Maybe it was 8.
I think it might have been 8 because I think that 8th only had like 8 episodes. But either way, they I mean, I think you're in agreement. They just did such a great job,
definitely,
of wrapping up, and for basically all the reasons that you just said, was that The Office, is all about kind of finding the silver lining of working this menial job. As Jim puts it, I work at a paper supply company. My job is to sell paper. That's basically one of the most boring things you can think of, but it's fucking where he met his wife, and they got married and they had kids. It's where he met all these other seemingly boring but also amazing people.
Yeah, I mean, they basically, just like they kind of became a family to us, they were a family to each other.
Right.
And I think that that's another thing, with more dramatic series, they can take a series finale and make it a piece of art. It can end with nothing. It can cut to black. It can be not what you wanted, and they don't care because they're not going for that. But I think with these series, you are just as much a character as the viewer, as the people that you're watching.
Okay.
I just think that you are because they're speaking to you. That's how they chose to film the show. And I just think that you become so much a part of it that it would have been really disappointing if it they didn't nail it.
Katie getting fucking deep over here.
I love it.
So deep. That's what she said.
That's what she said.
Yeah. You already did me. That's what she said. So yeah, that's that was all extremely good shit. Did you do any research on like Parks and Rec or Office, like trivia? Not like trivia questions, but
so I watched.
Did you see? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, well, I was gonna say I watched this thing, and it was one of those those videos that are like 20 things you need to know, and then it's like and it reads through them really fast.
I went down the rabbit hole yesterday, and I stopped when I reached like Breaking Bad. Like,
oh yeah,
I got to Breaking Bad, and I was like, ooh, like 50 things you didn't know about Breaking Bad.
I think I got sucked into that the other day too.
Yeah, and I was like, these are all really good. I know that we're not talking about Breaking Bad today, but
there was one. And I loved it. And I was like, ooh, I want to talk about this whenever you approached me about doing this, because I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. And then I found out it wasn't true. It was that the theme song, there was like a thing that said that they put out this like contest, and maybe they just left that part out to give the artist credit who did the theme song for Parks and Rec, which is so perfect. It's just the most positive little ditty.
Right.
And so they said that they had this contest, and it was for like a menial amount of money, and that these people won, and they like it was like their song.
Okay.
But it turns out it was just this woman, and they like approached her like, hey, do you want to do this? And she just made it. And it was just so lackluster compared to the other one.
You know what? You should just choose to believe in the other story.
I like the other story.
Yeah, just refuse to think. I've done that. Just live in denial for. I mean, it's not like something completely destructive.
No.
I mean, you just live in denial of the fact that the theme song came from some other source that it didn't actually come from.
I just wanted it to be like somebody in their garage, like making cool music, and
my son,
got famous.
Charlie, for those of you that don't know, he loves the theme song.
Oh.
Like, he can hear it from all the way on the other side of the house, and he'll like come running in and like dee 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 dee, and like he does like this like swinging thing with his arm, and like just today like he would just like smile, grin from ear to ear, like doing that. But just today, he finally started. He go dee 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 dee.
Oh yes, I love it.
Like that's the only like whole kind of sort of watch the show, but of course it's all dialogue, so and no flashy cartoons.
Both shows are so terrible to fall asleep to, not because they're like the content is
right, but
the theme songs come on and it's just like and it's like, oh well, okay, I'm awake now.
Right. No,
there is my 23-minute nap.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. But yeah, he fucking loves the theme song. Was that the only the trivia that? Because I have a shit ton of trivia, especially for Parks and Rec.
I did it, same thing, and I think that this is true. I want this to be true too, but now I don't feel like it was a credible source. But I heard that Amy Poehler and Nick Offerman made out a lot unnecessarily, like in filming, in hopes that it would like make it to like make it into the show somewhere, and it was almost just this like running joke that they like did kind of with the cast and crew. But that could be complete bullshit. So.
I didn't hear anything about that. I mean, it might be true. But like all my trivia stuff, like I pulled from like the typical like sources like IMDb and a few other places.
Well, let's hear yours, because I think both of mine are just not true.
Well, they
are
could
so
just
true
be, like,
in my
fan
head.
Theories.
Maybe it was just fan fiction in my head. Maybe I didn't even read it anywhere. I don't know.
Well, just believe that fan fiction in your head. That's totally
That's
cool. You're not hurting anyone.
That's my new calling.
Let's see. So apparently the writers didn't know that Nick Offerman already knew how to play the saxophone.
Oh.
So when they made him, of course he's his alias is Duke Silver, and he keeps that part of his life private for the most part. Apparently they just didn't know that he already knew saxophone, so that was, I guess, kind of a plus. So they probably were able to actually record him playing saxophone, like when he was playing live.
I love that.
So that's kind of neat.
That is neat.
Of course, I mean, I'll say this just for, just for saying it, because maybe not too many people know this, but I'm going to start over.
Go on. Give it to me. That's what she said.
So yeah, the other one is Ron's wife, Tammy too.
Yes.
Of course, she's played by Megan Mullally, and she was Karen in Will and Grace.
Yes.
And they're actually married in real life. I just wanted to say that one. A lot of people know that one because if you're a fan of The Office, you kind of follow the characters and everything else that they do, and you watch the interviews, like if they go on late night shows, and Nick Offerman will never pass up an opportunity to talk about his wife, which talk about hashtag relationship goals.
Yeah.
Like the relationship that he has with his wife is like something to aspire to. It's pretty great. Just the way that he talks about her. It's and him being just like a grand romantic to begin with.
Oh yeah. And he just got this like hard exterior, but he is obviously a super sweet, gentlemanly guy. Yeah.
We talked about a little bit earlier about how he has woodworking as a hobby. He actually has a woodworking studio in real life. Apparently he released an instructional DVD on canoe building.
Oh.
Which I kind of want to buy. I know nothing about.
Did you see that it was on New Year's Eve and it was him? I want to believe it was a live stream. Maybe it wasn't, but it was him sitting in a chair drinking Lagavulin scotch.
Weren't you telling me about this the other day?
I think so. And he was at the distillery, like in the background. There's a party going on, and he is sitting out on the coast just sipping Lagavulin, and then
he was trying to break some record.
I'm not sure if that. I mean, maybe it seemed like a record-breaking activity because he just sat there and stared at the camera and drank whiskey or drank scotch, and then it like turned midnight, and he just like kept sitting there. There was like I'm pretty sure he like looked at his watch and was like,
"That's such a Ron Swanson
I loved
thing
it.
to do."
Yeah, it was great. He's he's definitely a feminist.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he had on like a pink pussy hat and posted about it, and my heart exploded.
Yeah, it was pretty great. Like seeing that bearded man in that pink hat. It was pretty great. So in the London episodes, part 1 and 2, when Ben and Andy are walking up the stairs to go meet Lord Covington or whatever his name is for the first time. And he's asking Andy, like, so all you did was stop drinking beer, and you lost you lost all this weight. He's like, yeah, 50 pounds. He's like, exactly how much beer were you drinking? He's like, I know, right? Well, that's they were basically referring to the fact that they filmed that right after he got in shape for his Star-Lord role in Guardians of the Galaxy. So they were kind of referencing. I mean, like, he lost all this weight, and you could tell that they were still trying to dress him in, like, baggy shirts to kind of cover up the fact. But, I mean, nothing's going to cover up the fact that, like, he lost, like, all this weight in his face.
Oh, yeah. His chiseled jaw. Come on.
Yeah. He just, like, no baggy shirt could hide the fact that this dude just got
he's ripped
jacked
under there.
Yeah. And so I thought that was pretty funny how instead of, like, ignoring the fact that he lost all this weight, they chose to address it and address it in that way. In the
perfect Andy way.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty funny. We, of course, I talked to you about this earlier already, but the Mayfair Games, the makers of Settlers of Catan, which that's the game that they play Ben's bachelor party, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So they made... they were contracted to make Cones of Dunshire. We'll have like for 10 minutes about this shit earlier. They were contracted to make Cones of Dunshire specifically for the episode or a few episodes that it was featured in, and I guess maybe they wanted to try and mass produce it, but the game makers made the rules so complicated and hard to follow that no one could justify mass producing it because it was so hard to follow.
I wonder who owns like
the rights to it.
No, the few, like, did they actually make it?
I don't think so.
Because what if they made just like one?
I mean, I think they probably had to make a couple copies because the second part of this trivia is that they let's see, it says it was played at Gen Con in 2014. I'm not sure what Gen Con is.
Some kind of Comic-Con.
Yeah, I think it's... I should know because I'm kind of big in the convention scene, but I don't. But it was in Indiana where 33 people paid $100 each for a ticket to play. Let's see. It says the Ledgerman position was auctioned off.
I was just thinking. I was like, God, I wonder how much those are worth. Like the few actual copies of the game that there are. And then I was like, that's ridiculous. I'm just being a dumb fangirl. But then you just said that they auctioned off positions and they paid $100 to play. So maybe that's not that outlandish.
They might have just made like one or two copies. Maybe they just had one copy and they had like, just people filter in and out.
Who has the one copy? I don't want to play it, but
maybe it's in like a vault somewhere. I don't know.
Maybe it's at the Smithsonian.
Let's see. We talked a little bit about how it was a spin-off. It was supposed to be a spin-off of The Office, but then it was, later redesigned, but they still kept the mockumentary style that The Office had. This I thought was kind of neat. Nick Offerman and Aubrey Plaza, which respectively play Ron and April, share the same birthday, which is June 26th.
Oh, I'm a June baby too.
Yeah,
I love cool. Aubrey Plaza.
She's
another character that, like, I've seen interviews. I saw an interview on Seth Meyers, her talking about Legion, which I haven't started watching, but I want to.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Yeah, and it sounds like she couldn't even talk about her character, which made me want to watch it even more.
Right.
You know, because there's all this, and I don't know, I mean, because I'm assuming there's, like, a story that people already sort of know about it, maybe? Like, well, I don't know anyway. Yeah. But she is so much like April Ludgate in real life.
Yeah.
Like, she's kind of just crass and very to the point, and kind of, she's got a very, like, I think this might have just been like a fan fiction sort of thing, but I saw a trailer that was made for Daria.
Oh yeah,
like a live action Daria, and she was playing Daria.
I wanted that to be real, like, so bad. When I first saw the trailer, I was like,
looked real.
I was like, they're making it into a movie, and then, like, it was like, I saw it was made by College Humor or something.
Yeah, I thought it, Funny or Die or something.
I think it was Funny or Die, and I was so sad that it wasn't a real movie. I mean, they totally could make a real movie with her as Daria. Yeah, for sure. One thing I thought you'd get a kick out of this, something that I kind of knew in the back of my head but never really, like, thought about, is that none of the female characters that got married took their husband's last name.
Oh.
And so in turn all their children had hyphenated names.
Yeah.
But I thought that could kind of be added on to the conversation of how Parks and Rec takes, like, a feminist stance.
Definitely.
And, like, I wish I could say this to Lindsay if she was, you know, sitting here with us. I mean, she kind of already knows, but, like, if we could go back and do one thing, like, different, I'd want her to not change her name. Like, I do feel like it is very outdated thing that we do as far as marriage goes.
I agree.
Is taking of the last name. I would tell her that if she doesn't want to take my last name, that I don't want her to.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a pretty interesting
that is
thing. I
had never thought about that.
Yeah, I mean, I knew, like, that a lot of them, there wasn't a whole lot of marriages in this show, but I knew that April didn't take Andy's last name, and that Leslie didn't take Ben's last name. So I was the only person left was, like, Donna, I think.
I doubt she did.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
No, she's not the kind of person it seems like.
No, in real life she just has one name.
She ain't got.
She don't need no last name.
She doesn't have room for two more.
She ain't got time for that.
No, she does not have time for that. Let's see. I thought this was kind of neat. In the season 7 episode where Tom goes to Chicago to meet Lucy because I think he sees over social media that she's, like, single or something again. Him and Andy go to Chicago to, like, surprise her and stuff, and she's taking him on a tour of Chicago. She's like, everyone's so happy that the Chicago Cubs finally won the World Series.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's supposed to be in, like, 2017.
Yeah.
Or no. Wait, it was supposed to be.
Was that the flash forward? Because they.
No. That was supposed to be. Let me read this. Let's see. In a season 7 episode, Tom's future wife Lucy makes a comment about how the people in Chicago are friendlier now that the Cubs had won the series. Though the episode aired in 2014, it had the 3-year time jump correctly predicting the Cubs' 2016 series win.
Yeah, because if it aired in, like, the World Series wouldn't have happened again.
Right.
Until, later in the year.
Okay.
So, yeah, they totally predicted it.
Yeah.
I love when stuff like that comes around, like today. Today is March 31st, and there were all the memes about April being like, I didn't think March 31st existed. So Ron's like, how many meetings do I have? 93. I love when stuff like that comes back around. Like, treat yourself 2017. That was this year.
Yeah.
I've been treating myself.
I treated myself. I definitely treated myself. I had to take an account. I definitely bought a Nintendo 3DS and a PS4.
Treat yourself.
Yeah, I definitely treated myself. This one, I actually did not have to find trivia for. I already knew, and I was kind of surprised to see it in trivia because absolutely no one that I know of has talked about this. But Leslie's pregnancy of having triplets was foreshadowed. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, no.
It was in season 2, I think, when Anne sets her up with her then husband in real life. What's his name? Oh my, Will Arnett. And, he turns out to be a total asshole. He, brings her for an MRI.
Oh, yeah.
And, but he makes that comment where he's like, you got a killer oven, Leslie. I'm saying, right, you could have triplets right off the bat.
Yeah.
And when I finally watched the whole series in its entirety and, she gets pregnant, has triplets, and then I rewatched it, I was like, that's
what a creep.
Yeah. So I was like, I thought that was kind of neat.
I hadn't even noticed that, actually.
Yeah, that was one of the trivia things that I found, but I was kind of proud because I actually knew that as trivia.
You know more trivia than me. We've been nerding out and taking quizzes leading up to this, and David's beat me in all of them.
Yeah, I was so pissed that I didn't make 100% on that obscure.
I should have sent you one today. I was like, I'm going to brush up a little bit. And I took one with 50 questions.
Jesus.
That's how slow we've been at work. Whatever.
Yeah.
And I got 40 of them right. That's pretty good.
That is pretty out of 50.
Mm-hmm.
That's what?
That's 80%.
80%.
That's not that great, actually.
Hey, that's a B on college terms.
Yeah, it is.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah, B. That's let's see. Let's see. I didn't write any of the Office trivia down, but I did post the link because the Office trivia honestly was maybe it was probably boring to me because I knew most of it already, and the Office trivia is like it's all like so and so or these three people auditioned for the role of Michael Scott, and it then eventually went to Steve Carell. One thing that I thought was kind of sweet was I can't remember if Jenna Fischer and John Krasinski knew each other in real life. They might have met like for the first time or something like that when they went to go audition, but they went to audition like on the same day for their respective roles, and they both like really liked each other. So the very first question that they asked when they got the call back saying you got the role was they asked if the other person got their role. John Krasinski asked if Jenna Fischer got the role of Pam, and then vice versa. So I thought that was kind of sweet.
I saw an interview or a post about this where Jenna Fischer is quoted saying we did love each other to an extent.
Yeah.
Those characters in that setting, we loved each other, and you can see that. There's no same thing with Ben and Leslie. There's definitely a lot of just on-screen chemistry between them.
I bet that's got to be also difficult. I feel like that's one reason why I wouldn't be a great actor is because I can't turn that off. I'm a very emotional person.
Yeah.
So if I were to be an actor and I would have to portray an on-screen relationship or have an on-screen relationship with someone, and that person was someone that I was both physically and intellectually attracted to, then I might have to cheat on my wife.
Especially if it's Jenna Fischer or Amy Poehler.
Right. Especially Amy Poehler.
No. Maybe.
She gets my motor running.
Who, Amy Poehler?
Yeah.
She gets my motor running.
Even though she's
I love her.
She's I don't know. She's not yet 50, I don't think. But
no.
She's got a couple of kids. It's still I'd tap that.
Did you see Sisters?
I started
With Tina
watching
Fey.
it, and I stopped. I think because I ended up getting tired that particular night. Either that or I was
I'm just getting tired in general. I'm
right.
just tired in my
I'm
life.
My life is my life. Michael, what's wrong? Oh, the low light of the office is making me depressed. Michael, isn't depressed just another word for feeling down? Dwight, you ignorant slut.
Oh goodness.
I think that's one of the best Office episodes. It's just
Oh, yeah,
for
it's a
that
good
scene.
one.
Dwight, you ignorant slut. Let's see. What's some other good shit that I found? Apparently John Krasinski had to wear a wig at some point in time. I think when he cut his hair, we were talking earlier about how when he finally got a haircut in like season 3, they either had to do reshoots or they were doing more shoots of like previous episodes in the season. So he had to wear a wig,
Shitty wig.
Yeah, that would resemble his old like mop top hairstyle.
Oh no.
But it's funny, like if you think back to like the early 2000s, like that was totally like a look, like
yeah. That's why I
kinda
wonder
like
how
the
much of it was
surfer
on
look.
purpose.
Yeah. I mean, it was
He totally got up. His hair was still wet, and he put a hat on.
yeah.
You remember when you maybe he had done that? Was your hair
Most
ever long like
definitely.
that? So it kind of curled up around the edges.
You know, I think I have a photo that came up on my time hop today, and I can show it to you.
John Krasinski hair.
It basically was, and I tried to like grow a goatee, and or it's just not the goatee, not the mustache part, just like
Just the chin.
just the chin, and like I didn't grow it out enough. But I mean, you got to start somewhere, and like it looked like I put like stick glue on my chin and just dipped my chin in hair.
In like your pube hairs.
My pube hairs, but it just in like if I was to like shave off my beard and like dip it in then dip my chin in the sink.
You're doing a really funny motion right now.
Yeah. Too bad none of our audience can hear it.
I know. I just had to share
three of
it.
them.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get like 5 if you go home and tell your friends.
Oh,
that
everybody
you're on a
knows.
Podcast.
Yeah.
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 Cool.
I'm gonna share the shit out of this.
That would
or I
be
might listen to it
excellent.
and be like, no.
We'll literally have like tens of people listening to the podcast now.
Yeah.
It'll be so exciting.
Maybe if we're both, podcast evangelists at the office, at our office, we can get more listeners.
That would be tight. Tight like a million virgins.
So lit.
So lit, fam. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the Office trivia. I mean, there's like a shit ton more. So, audience, if you're interested in Office trivia, just go to IMDb or type in Office trivia in Google, and you can read it yourself. Because, like I said, a lot of it is, I mean, it's kind of like, oh, that's kind of neat to know, and then the rest of it is like, like I said, these actors were considered for the role, like Bob Odenkirk, who plays in Better Call Saul.
I remember that. And then he was.
Yeah, he basically was chosen to play Michael Scott because Steve Carell, who they really wanted, that was their number one pick. He was shooting a pilot for a brand new show for it might have been NBC as well. But the pilot ended up getting passed over, so all of a sudden he was freed up, and they obviously went with Steve Carell.
Yeah. But then he basically played Michael Scott in Bizarro World, later on in the series.
Yeah, he
that
played like
Pam
another another version of Michael Scott when Pam was trying to get that job in Philly.
Did Jim set that up on purpose? Do you remember they eat dinner together, and I got a vibe that he and maybe he came out and said this, that he set up that interview on purpose because it was a guy that was kind of like Michael Scott, and he knew it.
I never got that vibe, but then again, that's what one of the things that makes these shows so great is that they're infinitely rewatchable, and you pick up on those little things that you might have missed. Like there's always things that I pick up on that I never did previously. So
now I want to go and rewatch it all again.
I'm in the middle of both of them right now.
I just like finished the last little bit of The Office with my boyfriend, but I hadn't really watched that as much as I had watched earlier seasons, so it was good to have a new appreciation.
I've definitely seen The Office more.
Really? I've really only watched Parks and Rec a couple of times all the way through, but I've seen so many episodes just multiple times because I love them. So
yeah, it's pretty great. Great. I think, holy shit, we've been going for a while. I think this is going to be our longest episode thus far. But the trivia for both of those shows that was the last thing that I had. So I guess we can kind of do closing thoughts, like fucking The Office and Parks and Rec, or The Office, fuck yeah, Office, fuck yeah, Parks and Rec, fuck yeah.
I'm about it. Yeah. I love both of them. Like I said, I was so flattered that you asked me to come and be a part of this.
I'm so fucking glad that you agreed to. Like, this has been so much fun. Like, I've wanted to, I was going to say I wanted to do this episode for so long, but that's really not true. I just came up with the idea of doing this episode a few weeks ago. Like, really, there wasn't a whole lot of time that passed in between me coming up with the idea and then asking you, because I wanted to, of course, I didn't even say that Andrew and Connor weren't here. You know, usually when I do an episode without them, I'm like, hey guys, Andrew and Connor aren't here, but I'm here with
Andrew and Connor.
Yeah, we love you. But yeah, I knew that, like, Andrew, he's only seen Parks and Rec all the way through, like, once, and I don't think he's seen The Office all the way through once. So I knew that he would be able to contribute a little bit. And then Connor, I don't think he's really seen either show a whole lot.
So you needed another nerd.
So I really needed someone that knew. And when you told me that you knew The Office as well, I was like, fuck yeah. You were like my number one draft pick for this episode.
Number one.
Yeah. So, do you have any personal projects going on that we could plug? I mean, I like to, I know that podcasts, like, whenever they have special guests come on, they usually, plug their projects for them.
I am like a professional plugger of other people's stuff. I'm constantly, I feel like we both do that. Yeah. Where we're like, oh, I love this right now. And did you hear about this? I don't. I have a little, like, a Etsy shop that I'm kind of working on, but it's in its infancy. It's going to be like a vintage kind of concept.
Cool. Yeah. Well, we can. Is it live yet, or are you still
not.
Okay?
It's very much in the works.
Yeah. So as soon as Catie lets me know, I will definitely, like, I want to do like a friends page on the website.
That's awesome.
And kind of have a list like Brianna that used to work with us. Like, I want to put her Nerdette designs on there, and of course there's the Popcorn Poops podcast that Connor, the other co-host, his brother-in-law and his wife, they do that podcast, and it's like I forget their long ass like title for, or like subtitle for it. It's like the best married movie commentary track hybrid audio program on the internet. It's really long, but I mean it's on purpose to be funny. But yeah, we like to plug them too, because they're basically family to us.
Yeah, that's great.
I mean, definitely family to him, obviously, but he was Dustin, the husband in the relationship. He was like my first friend when I moved to Tennessee, so it was very interesting when I finally when I found out that Connor was his brother-in-law. I was like, what? Like, small world.
That's awesome. No, I think that's a great idea.
So yeah,
share the love.
Yeah, whenever your shit goes live, I will definitely plug it on our Facebook page and our website and Twitter and blah blah blah. So cool. Yeah, we'll do all that. So if you enjoyed this podcast, please pretty please go listen to the rest of them. They are as equally as nerdy and fantastic. You can find them on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher. If you'd like to leave us a rating and review on iTunes or Google Play, that would also be fantastic. That's pretty much the best way to help out the podcast, is to leave us a rating and review, because that helps with, metrics and data and all that boring shit. But basically it just amounts to us getting us recognized more when people search for this genre on iTunes and whatnot. But yeah, you can do that if you feel so inclined. We're also on Patreon. If you are into giving money to total strangers, or not strangers if you know us personally.
Just give money either way.
Yeah. Everything that's donated to us goes right back into the production of the show, better mics and all that fun shit to make the show more professional. And of course, you can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Geek Garage Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Geek Garage Pod. You can check out all of our shit on the Geek Garage Podcast website, geekgaragepodcast.com. You can find all the links there. You can find photos, and all the episodes are on there as well. So yeah, I have been David Dassaw, and my co-host for this evening has been
Catie Fenley.
Yes.
That's me.
And it's been so much fun.
It's been so much fun.
Oh my God.
Thank you so much, David.
Okay. Well, we will see you later in internet, and you have yourself a lovely evening.
Bye.
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 Bye.